Hello guys, so today we are going to discuss on how to write a code in C++ to convert a decimal number to an octal number. Okay, so first we'll be importing the required libraries like hash include bits slash std dot h, then using namespace space std. Then I'll be declaring the main method from where I'll be calling my function for converting a decimal number to octal number. So int main, so I'll be declaring a variable int n, and then I'll be taking asking for an user input like cout, enter a decimal number. Okay, and then I'll be taking the input from the user cinn. Then I'll be calling a function which will be a void function, so dec underscore to oct, and I'll be passing the number user input to the function, and then I'll be doing a return 0. So here I'll be declaring the dec underscore to oct method, so void dec underscore to underscore oct, and I'll be taking a sample parameter which is int n, and I'll be declaring some variables like int copy for copying the required user input. Copy is equal to n, so that I can later work with this copy, and then I'll be working on a do while loop. Okay, so I'll be replacing the code inside the do while. So like first I'll be extracting the remainder d is equal to n%8. So since it's an octal number, we are dividing by 8 and obtaining the remainder. Then I'll be working on the final octal number. Oct num is equal to oct underscore num plus d into I. Okay, so what's d? So d is the remainder and I is the number of steps at which the required remainder will be placed. So I is first is 1, and if we want to increment the places, we work it with I is equal to I into 10. Okay, and then we do we need to show out the intermediate iteration steps. So cout step, then a step variable which will be starting from 1, step is equal to 1, so step plus plus, so at each iteration it will be incrementing, so step plus plus. Then we'll be working on colon, then we'll be displaying the remainder, then we'll be displaying d, and then a semicolon, and then we'll be displaying the quotient of the operation. Okay, and this will be n by 8. Okay, so we'll be displaying n by 8, and they will be doing this. Okay, and here it will be an n line. Okay, so finally we'll be dividing the number n by 8, so that in the next iteration we can work with the quotient. So this do while loop continues until and unless n is not equal to 0. Okay, so when n becomes 0 or the final quotient becomes 0, we exit out of the loop. Okay, so here we'll be declaring the variables comma d comma oct underscore num, which will be 0 because we are doing an assignment. So whenever we are doing an assignment, we should initialize that variable with 0, and we don't have any other additional variables to declare. Okay, and we'll be putting a semicolon. So finally we'll be displaying the octal number of the required user input decimal number. So octal of decimal number. Okay, so my decimal number is copy, so I'll be using the copy variable here, and we'll be putting a semicolon, and finally we'll be placing our octal number, which is oct underscore num. Okay, so here what I am doing, we are incrementing I in y into 10, so we are moving one place ahead. So like when we are in tens, so 10 into 10, which is 100, so we move on to the hundreds position, and if we are in the hundreds position, into 10 we move on to the thousands position. So in this way we multiply the remainder, the required remainder at each step we get, and we multiply it with that position. So finally we get the octal number. Okay, so we'll be trying out two test cases. So the first test case is 33. Okay, so 33 by 8 is 1, as gives the remainder 1 and a quotient of 4. So in the next step we'll be using the quotient and dividing it by 8. So we obtain the remainder 4 and a quotient of 0. So if we take this in the remainders in the reverse step, it will be octal 41. So 4 goes in the tens position and 1 goes into the 0th or the ones position. Okay, so at 1, so it will be 1 into 1 plus 4 into 8, which is 41, the octal. Okay, so in the next another test case, which is 756. So when we divide 756 by 8, we get a remainder of 4 and a quotient of 94. In the next step, we use the earlier steps quotient 94 by 8, which gives a remainder of 6 and a quotient of 11. And then again we divide 11 by 8, we get remainder 3 and a quotient 1. And finally we divide 1 by 8, which gives a remainder of 1 and a quotient of 0. So if we take this in the reverse order, we get 1364. Okay, so this will be trying two test cases in our sample program. Okay, and I hope the program is okay. So I'll be running this program. So I take a new terminal and I take g++ dec underscore 2 oct dot cpp dash o dc underscore 2 underscore oct. Okay, so our program is running, so it has run successfully. So I test the program dc underscore 2 underscore oct. So we'll be first be entering a test case, which is 33. Okay, yeah, so here we get octal of decimal 33 is 41, so we get 41 and we get the respective iteration steps. Okay, so we can put a n line here so that the output looks much neater. So we save it and then we again compile it and then we again run it. Okay, so here we'll be testing the test case 756. So we should get 1364. So this is the way we will be writing a program to convert a decimal number to octal number. Thank you.